Hi, I'm Shaggy. Many of you know that I've been using Sony cameras for so many years. Actually, to be honest, I think it's since 2012 when I first bought the NEX 5N. At that point of time, when I bought the NEX 5N, it cost me $1,200, and that was considered the easiest way for me to finally get good video on a small camera. Because like I said in my previous video regarding vintage lenses, when I was studying, there was no such thing as DSLR video. There was no such thing as interchangeable lens. Interchangeable lens cameras were not readily available for everyone to use outside of like large scale productions. When it came all the DSLR revolution thing, I was in the military serving my national service, so I didn't have time to really practice or try it out. So when I left the army and then I went to work, that's when I started to realize that I should go and try out and use these new cameras. And the NEX 5N was my number one choice. The NEX 5N was my number one choice mainly because it was really small and compact, and there was a potential for me to use much more professional lenses on it. The NEX 5N used an E-mount, which is shared with your high-end. Back then it was FS100, FS700. Those were the cameras that were used for high-end productions, or like in the mid-range, I guess. I mean, to be able to have a professional mount on a consumer camera was quite a big thing to me. So that's why I got the NEX 5N. Now after the NEX 5N, I was really using it a lot, a shitload, a really lot, and a lot of my YouTube videos were actually made using the NEX 5N. Even the time when I was doing G-Smoke reviews, that was all using the NEX 5N. After a while, we upgraded to the NEX 6 because I realized that there was a limitation working without a viewfinder. And I thought having a viewfinder would be a good thing. After the NEX 6, I saw that the A6500 was coming out. I was damn excited because the A6500 had in-body image stabilization, which is the sensor would shift to stabilize your image. It had S-Log, that was exciting. It had high bitrate XAVC. You could do really good slow-mo on the A6500. And there was a mic jack on the A6500. So coming from the NEX 6, which didn't have a mic jack, A6500 had a mic jack, and that was exciting for me. So really, I worked at a film festival, the Singapore International Film Festival, and I went to buy it immediately without even caring whether I had money to eat. So after buying that, I really loved the A6500 because it was a big jump from the NEX 6. Then I was using it, I was really loving it for around 5 to 6 months. And as I was using it, I realized that was not enough for me to use on a professional level. So I was toying with the idea of buying an A7S Mark II. Mainly because, which light was that? Oh, this light died. Okay, I'm going to change the batteries. So mainly I wanted to get the A7S Mark II because the A7S Mark II had a mic jack, headphone jack. It was seen as a much more professional camera, and it was full frame. Sony now, actually, because I really just switched, Sony at this point has been very obsessed with their full frame. They've already overtaken Nikon. On Nikon, they are soon gonna overtake Canon. Canon's latest offering of the 6D Mark II is not helping at all because the video is not really that good. So I think it's just a matter of time before Sony becomes the number one camera doing full frame. And that's where the problem is. I was deciding to get the A7S Mark II because I thought that getting an A7S Mark II is going to bring me to the next level. But after a while I realized that's not really why. So the A7S Mark II, if you want to get one of those in Singapore, the price will be around 4,000 something. 4,000 plus for just the body. And then if you want to have a standard lens on it, that will cost you another $3,000 for the 24 to 70mm f2.8 together. That's already like around almost $7,000, like that. That was a big amount of money to put in. So to just throw in $7,000, I really had to think lah. You know, I had to save money. I had to strategize and start to build my business a bit differently. So I had this opportunity. I had a friend who has his own studio. He's a photographer, Tan Yap Heng. He has an A7S Mark II and he lent it to me. And when he lent it to me and then I held it in my hands, I realized that the A7S Mark II is not as advanced as the A6500, which is a big shock to me because I thought, you know, A7S Mark II, kind of the flagship video camera for Sony, but it's less advanced than the A6500. That got me thinking for a while. Then I'm like, so the $7,000 doesn't really feel like $7,000. And before that, I actually used the A7S Mark II for a professional shoot on set actually, and I was really impressed. So I was thinking, oh shit, $7,000 for this and it's not really that advanced. And back to the fact that Sony is focusing on full frame. So the thing is, Sony is focusing on full frame. The E-mount is notorious for being very exclusive, meaning there's not a lot of manufacturers producing E-mount lenses, and the options are not really there. So most of the options, most professionals, what they do is they will buy a Metabones and they will put in the Canon lenses on their E-mount, which is, I guess, good. But I tried that. So after a while I realized, okay, you know what, the X6500 is fine. I'm gonna get a lens which is useful for me when I'm doing documentary. And that's when I bought the Sigma 17 to 50 f2.8. I had an adapter and I put it on my A6500. And then it made my A6500 really big. Which makes me think twice, like, how am I gonna do documentary, run around and use this camera and shoot? It's not really worth... It's not worth being tired over this, you know, because you're like, oh yeah man, I need a big sensor, and then big sensor means I need to get bigger lenses, and then I'm like, and I went to shoot, and then it's like, the shots weren't that exciting because I was too tired anyway to shoot properly, because the whole profile of the camera looks so big. It was quite cumbersome to use, and when you shoot people with a big camera, people notice you. See, the problem with people noticing you when you're doing documentaries is that they start to behave differently. They're not natural anymore, and they start to perform on camera. Not fun at all. Not fun at all. I don't like that at all. That's the thing that I hate the most, because the work that I do, I love intimacy. And if my camera is intimidating to the people that I'm shooting, it's not gonna work. So after a while, I actually went to several classes. Griffin Hammond came to Singapore, and also Clinton Han came to Singapore to talk about the GH5. And I went to those classes without thinking at all to get the GH5. I went to Griffin Hammond's class twice even, because I wanted to learn more about documentary filmmaking, and I wanted to know his process. And during the class, he was telling us about his process lah. The thing is, he's such a nice guy, and it's not even hard selling about the GH5. He's just saying, you know, this is what works for me, and if it works for you, then it's great. But if it doesn't, then too bad lah. I mean, whatever, right? So then I went for Clinton Han's class, and he's a cinematographer, and I was like, okay, you know what, if this guy is going to talk about this tiny camera, let's see what he has to say about it. And he was showing us himself using the GH5 for his shoots. That's what got me intrigued. Like, this guy is used to using, like, I think Arri Alexas and all that, like big ass cameras, like real, what everybody would believe is a professional setup, but he, you know, still goes back to the GH5 when he's on his own. So that's when I asked him, like, because when it comes to cameras, some of the things like we would be wondering would be like, what would the client think if I were to show up on set with a tiny camera? I think any photographer or videographer would be thinking that at some point, like wondering like, okay, you know what, I like this small camera, but what if my client doesn't trust me? And I asked him that question. I asked Clinton Han that question, and he told me. Actually, the question I asked him was like, how do you overcome that problem where the client is like, oh, your camera is so small? He said, just bring a big crew lah. Just bring a big crew, and everybody's working efficiently. That in of itself can portray professionalism. That got me thinking, and then I went back and thought about it. Now I have another option: GH5, A7S Mark II, GH5, and then I just crunched the numbers. The moment I crunched the numbers, that's when I realized the GH5 is for me. Why? You see, the thing about the GH5 is, if you need a camera that can do everything, you're wondering like, what is everything? Okay, let me tell you this. The kind of work that you do professionally, right, you're gonna end up doing anyway if you pursue this career. You're gonna do events. You are going to do, like for me, I do theatre show recordings, like concerts or theatre show recordings. You're gonna do conferences. Conferences also, you're gonna do like event videos. Those are what will be your bread and butter, and of course the odd corporate video. So this is your bread and butter, and you need a camera that can do all of these things. And I realized, oh, this GH5 can be there for me throughout all these things. Because previously, I had the A6500, right? The one camera that carried me along to all my jobs is actually not the A6500. It's the Sony X70, which is a small ENG type camera which can record 422 XAVC as well. It's just that the sensor is not as big as a A6500. It's not an APS-C sensor. It's a 1-inch sensor. But that camera is the one that has made me the most money. So you gotta detach yourself from all this tech talk and like technology nerdifying, and you know what, and go back to numbers. That's what I did. So I went back to numbers and I thought to myself like, okay, so what's so good about this X70 that I always carry it for all my jobs? Because my X70 can do all the jobs that people need, which is show recordings, conferences, and maybe some events. It's the most reliable camera, and my A6500 is simply not that reliable. So what are the features on my Sony X70 which I really enjoy? The features that I enjoy are XLR audio inputs, very important, because when you have XLR audio inputs, you can get audio when you're recording for conferences or shows. You can get audio from the soundboard, from the auxiliary output, yeah. And with that kind of microphone input, you can get this kind of microphones and attach them straight to your camera. Not just this type of microphones, the microphone I'm using right now here, the Rode. Yep. Let me put that properly. Yeah, so I can put a professional boom microphone straight into my camera. And also my lapels, which is these guys. Okay? All these can go straight to my camera. I tried. Yes, a lot of people will say, yeah, but you can just plug in the mini jack into your camera, what? Yeah, sure, of course. But the thing is, with the mini jack, which I tried on another project, the preamp is not good enough, and the audio is going to be very noisy, and you're not going to submit that kind of work to your client. You crazy, ah? You want an XLR kind of audio into your camera so that you can have a good quality audio, and that's very, very important. It's like one of the most underrated things about video. A lot of online videos I watch in Singapore, the audio is like shit, and I don't understand how these things can get passed, but somehow it gets passed. But I'm not gonna stoop down to the level. I'm gonna do it properly. Because I want to take pride in my work, and it's how one of it. So XLR audio is one of the important things, okay? And the next thing is being able to record more than 30 minutes. Yeah, you can say, yeah, I don't need that. I can just press it again. Yeah, sure. When you go out there and shoot in a professional setting, you have no time to deal with your camera dying halfway because of some arbitrary limit being put on it by the manufacturer. And that's what's happening. You got no time for 30 minutes video recording. You got no time for overheating. You got no time to worry about these things. Okay, and that's what another thing that the Sony X70 was good for me. Another one is battery life. That camera can last me the whole day, and it's fine. Either because I can just plug it to the wall, or the battery itself, because it's a camcorder, the battery tends to last longer. It's not the same as like a DSLR that's pretending to be a video camera. And another thing that was really good about the Sony X70 is that it had dual SD card slots. There was a time when I was complacent. I had it set on relay recording, meaning if you record finish on one card and then it will go to the next card. I did that. And in the middle of the shoot, the whole thing got ruined and my shot is gone. I'm never gonna make that mistake again. So now, from now on, I think every camera that I buy needs to have dual SD card slots. Because once that footage is gone, it's gone forever. The Sony A6500 and I think the A7S, does it? Hey Wesley, does the A7S Mark II have dual card slots? Only one.
One.
Oh shit, yeah, you see. Okay, thanks Wesley. This Wesley is editing some of our work at Paradise Pictures. So, like the A7S Mark II has only one card slot. So these are the things that are very important for me. And also, back to money. The Sony X70 cost me almost $3,000 to buy. And it had everything that I need. And it's the one camera that I use for almost all the work that we do here at Paradise Pictures. It's crazy, huh? You thought that, you know, high quality cinema camera is the one. Nope, in real life, the most reliable camera is the one that you will always carry with you. So I paid almost $3,000 for that. And it had everything. So the return on investment is there. When I go on the other side and think, oh, okay, I'm gonna dump $7,000 on a camera that has none of these things. It has no XLR audio. It has a recording limit. It has low battery life. It has only one SD card slot. I can't just, you know, because I'm running a business, I can't just spend that kind of money on something that can't give me back the money. You know what I mean? So every cent that you spend on your equipment is the money coming back. That's a very important question when you're actually doing this professionally. That's when I start to look at the GH5. So I calculated, if I got everything on the GH5, heck, if I just buy the GH5 kit, let me open the document and remember how much I paid for it. So how much did I pay for my GH5? Okay, another cool tip that I need to remind y'all, if you want to survive in this business, go and make a lot of friends. Don't be selfish. You don't live on this earth alone. Go ahead and be a very nice person. Make sure that you're easy to work with. Anyway, that's how I got good quotes for things I want to buy. So, a Panasonic GH5 with the 12 to 25mm lens f2.8, that's practically the same as buying a 24 to 70 f2.8 for the big Sony one. And it's so small. I can actually show you right now the lens. This is the size of the lens. f2.8, 12 to 35, which is equivalent to a 24 to 70. Even after extending it, it's not really that big. And it's not that heavy. I sold away the 17 to 50. The 17 to 50 was at least twice the size. And that makes it really heavy and very intimidating to carry around. And the zoom reach is not even there. And the picture quality wasn't even like blowing me away. So the GH5 that I'm filming this video on with that lens is almost $4,000. $4,000. All I needed to do for a GH5 is to buy the audio adapter. The audio adapter is much more cheaper than the Sony version. The Sony version would set me back almost $1,000, but the Panasonic version is almost $400. Okay, so you think about it. It's $4,500 and I have everything. Versus $7,000 and I don't have everything. That's a very hard decision to make, huh? Another reason why I wanted the A7S Mark II was because the in-body stabilization was solid. Working together hand in hand with the lens, it was really good. And I tried it out in a professional setting and it was really impressive to me. But then the GH5 had the same thing. The GH5 and the lens just now, the stabilization could work together. The sensor stabilization plus the lens stabilization could work together and it was equally as solid. I don't know. It's very hard for me to justify paying another 7 minus 4.5, another $2,500, which I can actually buy another camera, by the way, for that. and I can actually buy like lots of lenses for this camera, I have like money left over to buy shit like audio and lights and other more important things that you need in the production. End up I bought the GH5. It's tiny. Like, don't bother about what the client thinks. The client doesn't give a shit. If you think your camera is too tiny, fine. Just get a cage. You know, actually doesn't freaking matter lah. Once you are out shooting, and if you want to see how the GH5 looks like in a full production, like when you're out at work, I can show you now. This is the image still from another video that I made about my GH5 setup. Look at that. Does that look like a small ass? No, it doesn't. Doesn't matter. Just go out and shoot, and somehow it's gonna work. Let me adjust my hair. Okay. Yeah. Just do it. And the wonderful thing about the GH5 is that I think it's a camera that will take care of you. Okay, it's a camera that will take care of you. You can shoot all the way up to 4K, and I heard some people who can hack it actually got 6K to work, but I'm not interested in that. Honestly, I'm not even using 4K, except for one video that Wesley is actually now editing. The only reason why I shot 4K for that project is because I was able to crop in and, you know, enlarge the image, because we were doing green screen. I wanted even more resolution to make the green screen nicer when we key it out. So, I don't know, that's the thing. Yeah, that's pretty much why I decided to get a GH5 instead of an A7S Mark II. And right now I'm a very happy guy. I'm really pleased that I spent that kind of money on the GH5, and the GH5 has already seen action in at least... The GH5 is super versatile lah. I can use it in a studio setting, I can use it in an event setting, I can use it on a shoot, I can use cinema lenses on it. It's just so hard for me to like... I think I woke up lah. I pretty much woke up because... Let me go back to the whole Sony thing again. Sony right now is focusing on full frame. From a business point of view, it's good for Sony to focus on their full frame, because full frame means full frame lenses, and full frame lenses are bigger and they're much more expensive. And I mean, they want to make more business for themselves, so they're really promoting their full frame, and they're neglecting their APS-C cameras. So APS-C lenses become less and less. But the thing about Sony is they tend to sell their own lenses at quite a high price. For Panasonic, the lenses are relatively cheaper, even though it's the high-end one, like the Leica lenses for Panasonic. It's still cheaper than a regular Sony lens. And it's smaller. And it's more usable. Why do I say more usable? When you go out on the field, it's easier for you to use it. Like, this is a 12 to 35. I'm going to show you another lens. And this is a 45 to 200. Look at that. Like, if you're out on the field, how tired do you want to be? How much do you really want to tire yourself out? I don't know. It's just something that you have to seriously consider. You want to buy one camera for every job? Or do you want to buy one camera that you know you can trust for a lot of jobs? I mean, if you're rolling in money, that's fine lah. But then, even if you're rolling in money, you want to buy something that suits the kind of clientele that you have. And at this point in my career making videos, I think the GH5 suits me. And I'm not saying that the GH5 is the best camera in the world, by the way. Even though, I mean, for me it works. But for you, I don't know. But these are the reasons why I bought the GH5. Number one, if you're in Asia or Singapore and you want to buy the GH5 and whatever accessories that I'm using in my camera, that including the mic just now and the lenses and all kinds of other things, all kinds of other good stuff that I'm using in my camera, there are links below for Lazada. Lazada is my favorite website to buy things ever. A lot of the things you see around me I actually bought on Lazada, believe me. And they give you best prices, and if you search hard enough. If you want to support me, you know, so that I can make more videos like this, please buy something from Lazada. And the links are just there, you know, if you need some of these things and you want to have the same thing. Before I leave, I just want to remind you that whatever suits me doesn't need to suit you. It's up to you to decide what works. But I'm just giving you the reasons. I think the thought process is more important than the outcome. So these are the things that someone like me would consider, yeah, when I'm buying a camera. And it'll be the same thought process for you. Maybe the outcome is different. That'll be good. I mean, at the end of the day, you want the outcome to suit you. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.